You're listening to the Beard and the Beauty Podcast. Well, hello.
Hello.
We are back, guys. Finally.
We made it. We made it.
My gosh, I don't know how long it's been, forever. So, first of all, thank you guys for your patience, and thank you for allowing us to take other priorities in place of this. But this is something we definitely missed. It's definitely been, it's probably been like 2 months, I think.
I don't know. We've been talking about it. We just didn't get to do it.
Yeah, it just kept falling down the priority list, and we've had an absolute crazy time since we went to Ireland, which was not quite 2 months ago.
No.
So, but that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about our excursion in the Emerald Isle. So
that's right.
So we went in early October, and we went for almost 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it was absolutely terrible, right?
Terrible.
Yeah.
Worst trip ever.
So why don't you tell me about it? You're somebody that you know you've been to other countries, you've traveled kind of everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you want to talk about being in Ireland?
I think it's fun to talk about some of the stops and the people. And my favorite question when I ask somebody if they enjoyed their trip or not is, would you go back?
So you're asking me that?
Yes.
So I would 100% go back.
And that's, to me, a great destination. It doesn't mean you have to go back right away, but if somebody's excited and they want to go back,
so
that's a good sign.
But it's kind of like a little asterisk for me, because it's not like something I'd be like, let's go back next year. Like, there's a lot of stuff that we didn't get to do. There's a lot of tourist things that I was like, nah, forget about it. Like,
or chose not to do.
Like, once you see one castle, you've seen them all. Like, so for me, like, it would probably be another 10 years before I'd go back, to be honest with you.
Well, there's other stuff we want to see as well.
So
it's tough to go back if you're like have a list of places.
Yeah.
You want to go.
I mean, we basically we definitely got to talk about us like getting trapped in the freaking deluge of rain.
I think we should just start with immigration. Let's start about trying to go in to the country.
For those guys that don't understand or don't, maybe this is your first episode, who knows, but this is a trip that we've been planning for years upon years. We've rebooked it, I think 4 times is the actual number.
We had this trip. People who don't know us don't know this. We had this trip booked, you guys, fully, minus airfare, in March of 2020. I was literally on the phone with Aer Lingus
as COVID broke.
Yeah. And I was chatting with them, and she's like, there's a lot of weird stuff being talked about right now.
I remember
that. She, basically I was trying to like wait for a sale, because then I was booking our airfare as well, because this was all set up to be happening in September of that year.
But that's a great point. So, our stance, we took a very strong stance when it came to COVID and health freedom and everything. But the silver lining to this trip was the fact that in the time, 3+ years ago when we were supposed to go, we were staying at mostly B&Bs. We've worked really hard to achieve the level of success that we've had in business to travel the way we did, taking business class.
We upgraded a lot of things on this trip,
and we had a king bed every night.
Mm-hmm.
So we were able to do things, and all I'm trying to point out is, we've been successful as a married couple in our business. Even through the hard times, like it allowed us to really take the trip that we wanted, which we like nice hotels, we like nice restaurants, we like, I definitely wasn't going to sleep in a double bed.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things.
Our stops didn't change, but a lot of the places we stayed each night
Yeah.
or shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we hop on. So we started in Boston. We spent, like a day and a half in Boston, and we basically just walked around Boston all day, and we went to Cheers, which was cool. Jacqueline had never been to Boston.
It was super
I
cool.
was there several years ago. So yeah, like the last time I had been in Boston, I think I was 17 with my grandfather. I thought it was super cool.
Boston was awesome. I loved it.
What did you like about it?
I really loved the. I always think it's really cool to look at the architecture, to look at the like the buildings, like that. I always think is so neat. And
we found that one restaurant that was super, super up our alley, gluten free, and it was delicious.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I love big cities too for that reason. Like when you're looking for food, it's so easy. Like you just hop on. There's all these different, things you can search in TripAdvisor or even like gluten-free apps, things like that. And it's just because there's so much around in a big city. It's so nice because you can really find whatever you need.
Yeah.
But the people were awesome. The architecture, it was beautiful. It's a beautiful historical city. And it was just, other than getting drenched.
Yeah. So
we totally got poured rain on.
So we take a flight, overnight flight out of Boston. We leave at like 9 p.m. We're on business class. We have the nice beds that,
we laid down.
And
I told Paul he's ruined because this is his first time going overseas. And this is how he traveled.
And it's funny. So we did business class mainly for the room because we wanted to try and sleep, because we basically woke up in Ireland at like 8:30 is when we landed in the morning. So we wanted to make sure we had that whole time to spend there. So we did the overnight. I took a bunch of melatonin. I think I did okay sleeping.
Pretty good.
But I didn't get to experience the full business class because one of the things for jet lag I read was like, if you're supposed to be sleeping, don't eat, don't drink, because it's going to throw off your circadian rhythm. And I didn't do that. But so we land 8:30. We're pumped. We've traveled like 3 time zones, and we go through immigration, and then we meet the Irish Karen. And you go through immigration, you give them your stuff, they ask you some questions. And she didn't like how we're answering questions. We've been traveling so much for business. Like, she's like, "What are you here for?" And we're like, "Business." "Oh wait, no, sorry, we're here for travel." Like,
just fun.
And it spun into this like 20-minute, just she bitched me out. There was something about me.
She was not liking it.
It was resting beard face.
Mm-hmm.
And, I handed my phone over. Like, she looked at our whole itinerary, which was like 73 pages. And she just, "Well, you're changing your answer." I was like, "Ma'am, you know what? We're tired. Like, we just traveled 3 time zones. We're excited to be here. Like, we spent a ton of money to come to your country and tour it and have a great vacation." And, it finally got to a point where, I stayed calm, like, because we're out of our element. My wife knows me, but usually I'll give a chance, and then I'll escalate the situation when it needs to be escalated. But I stay calm, and I just was like, "Can you stop yelling at us, please?"
Yeah.
Like it was so fucking rude, and I was just like, "Can you please just stop yelling at us?" And I basically looked at her, and I think I said like, "Okay, well, I've answered all your questions, and you've seen our itinerary, and so you're either gonna let us through, or you're gonna call your supervisor over."
Yeah.
And
then she just begrudgingly stamped.
So it definitely
really?
It definitely wasn't the Irish welcome, like, "Hey, welcome to Ireland. Here's Guinness." Like, but it was.
But everyone else.
Yeah.
In the
everyone
country
else was fine.
And the guys, the bearded villains, even made a comment. They're like, "Oh, you found the one."
Yeah.
The one.
So, if you guys don't know, I belong to a beard club called the Bearded Villains. There's chapters all over the world. There's members all over. I happen to be an officer for our local, and so anytime we travel, I try and meet up with these guys because it's an international brotherhood of bearded men. And boy, we had a fucking blast with those
Yeah.
guys in Ireland. So
So was that our second night in Dublin? We started in Dublin, got our bearings that first day.
which was tough. The jet lag was definitely there for me. I was struggling.
Paul
big time.
learned the art of walking. We walked for hours.
Yeah, we probably walked around Dublin for about 8 hours.
A lot.
So,
Yeah, Paul learned the art of avoiding jet lag and trying to stay up as long as possible.
yeah,
So we walked.
It was tough.
We walked a lot.
My first Guinness was a little like bittersweet because like we go to this pub, we sit down, we order Irish breakfast, I order a Guinness, and I'm like, oh my God. Like
he
thought,
had the look.
I thought I was going to barf.
It didn't look good.
But we made it through. I didn't barf the whole time. But so yeah, the second night, we meet up with some bearded villains from the Irish chapter, and before we met up with them, we were at the Guinness storehouse. So
so much fun.
We
place is so cool.
Yeah,
like if you go to Dublin, you have to stop there.
Yeah, and here's a tip: do the connoisseur tour.
Yes.
They said that they see 7,000 people a day, and only 47 people do that tour. And it was private. They go through all the history and the recipes, and you get to try different recipes, stuff that you normally wouldn't try on the normal tour, but you have to do the connoisseur tour.
Yeah.
It's like an extra $20 or something like that. It's totally worth it.
Well, what I like too is it's quiet and much more intimate.
Yep.
Like, not that the storehouse itself isn't cool, but like there's lines for everything. It was so busy. So like that part was so nice because we really got it like served to us in a small group, which was really nice.
So we basically, we have about 4 Guinnesses while we're there over a course of a couple hours.
Yep.
We go and meet my Irish brothers, and I'm just going to say I have 10 more Guinnesses maybe. And,
I tapped out.
Yes.
I could not keep up with the Irish.
And I was pretty happy. Like I was, one of the Irish guys like, yeah, you definitely got some Irish blood in there because you can drink. And so I hadn't drank like that in forever. And so,
yeah.
But then the next morning I was hanging pretty hard.
We were moving slow.
Yeah.
And then we had to pick up our rental car.
So yeah, Jacqueline's like, oh, we got to pick up our car at 8 a.m. I was thinking we could stay in bed. I can sleep this off. We hop in a taxi. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want to barf in a taxi. So first 2 mornings in Ireland, like I'm ready to freaking hurl. I never did though.
You did good.
So, but yeah, we got our car. We started touring the country.
Driving on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah.
I began.
Yeah, Jacqueline was a champ at that. And it worked out really well because I'm really good at giving directions.
He is.
And
I'm just brave. I'm like, let's do it. Here we go.
We do not do that here in the States because you are terrible at giving directions.
I'm awful.
So,
yes.
So it worked out really well. I wasn't afraid to drive. I drove. We'll get to that in a little bit, but yeah, like we just toured at our own pace. We basically did 2 nights in almost every place we stopped.
Yep.
And
we drove across to Galway next. So from Dublin to Galway, just that once we're in the car and stuff is great because we could just go at our own pace, driving with the crazy Irish people on the road.
Yeah.
That was a little intimidating, but you kind of just get used to it.
Bad.
It gets bad on the side roads. Like
the
motorways were fine.
Yeah.
The side roads were a shit show.
So overall though, like for the trip, like what was your favorite?
Dingle
Peninsula.
Dingle and the Pax House. 100%.
So that was your favorite like town. What about like, I don't know, activity?
Like thing that we did?
Yeah. Like what's your highlight of being there?
I thought the Guinness Storehouse was really cool. We also had fantastic weather that day. So
not just that day, we had it almost the
whole trip till the end. But like up in the storehouse at the very top in the gravity bar.
Sweet.
We got this huge panoramic. We were right on the glass. It was sunny. You got to see the whole city. I just thought that that was really cool, and just a really fun experience. And we did the extra special tour, so like all those things were fun. I think my most favorite unexpected thing that we didn't really plan was in Galway doing the Galway drink place. What was that thing called?
The Galway Distillery?
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got introduced to their gin there.
Yep.
And we didn't really, we were kind of just looking for something to do that day. We didn't have the seaweed baths pan out that day that we had planned, which sometimes happens because it's just too far of a drive.
Yeah, it said it. So we pre-booked these seaweed baths. It said it was like in Galway.
Yeah, like nearby. It was not nearby.
Yeah, it was like it was gonna be like a 3-hour round trip to hop on a seaweed bath. So we kind of just ate that, but
yeah.
But we just walked around Galway and hit up a
fun.
distillery and hit up it was like a micro gin distillery.
Yeah.
They were so new they hadn't produced any whiskey yet, and so they used a lot of berries and herbs to flavor their gin, and it became a habit for my wife. So
yes, that's what I brought home.
Yeah,
a love of gin.
Yes,
but it was so cool. Like they walked us through the whole process. They are this distillery. They're like I am, and we are in our wellness business. You know, they're all about, you know, producing it themselves, doing the local grown things like farm to table and
doing it based on harvest and when you're supposed to harvest it. Yeah,
it was really cool because like they spoke our language, and
so
they're all about quality, which was it was amazing.
And that's the thing is like we don't travel like most people travel. Like we always end up finding these places where, you know, it's really up our alley, where it's like, yeah, you know, and that was the one thing too, like even going through the Boston airport and even the Dublin airport, like you go through Denver and everything is fucking commercial food, dog crap, you know, even the non-commercialized are still commercialized. And then, you know, you go to the Boston airport, it's not like that. You're not seeing the typical Chili's or whatever. You're seeing like good quality places that have food that you can get food and not feel sick. And so we even took that and carried it over into Ireland. We ate at some fantastic restaurants.
That was, I think, my favorite restaurant was there.
Yeah, in Galway.
In Galway. That dinner we had there was, I think, probably the best the entire time. It was fantastic.
Best Irish coffee. McSwiggins, right?
Yes. Yep. The best Irish coffee as the nightcap for the evening, and the food and the service. I mean, everything about that was just, it was a great experience.
Yeah. So. And I think too, for me though, the food did get tough towards the end. You know, we have patients that they go out there and they're like, oh, the food didn't bother me. And I was thinking about it. I was like, well, it doesn't bother them because they still probably, even though the patients are doing fantastic on their health journey, they still haven't probably been living that way for such a long time like we are. Yeah. And so their body's probably not as, I don't know if sensitive is the right word, but I know after about 5 days I was like, you know, kind of not feeling bad, but, you know, definitely, you know, feeling the food and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I will say though, it's easy to eat clean though by the menus. So the European Union has a uniform system of labeling food allergies. Yep. They're numbered. It's the same number for
the entire
European Union.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's like 1 to 10 or whatever. And they put that in the menu. Or if they don't have it, you could ask for it. So you can know exactly what you're eating. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily everybody will have the best choices, but you're going to know what's in your food.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest, guys. I had a Guinness multiple times.
We had a lot of Guinness.
So,
a lot of Guinness.
and the rumor is true. It tastes different out there.
It was so good.
I asked if we get a different recipe here, and the answer is no. You know, Guinness said something crazy like they change out a keg like every 5 minutes or some crazy thing like that.
Yeah.
but they clean the lines every day.
Yeah, they're
And-
very anal and pristine about
Yeah.
the process of just, putting the beer through the taps. I mean, nobody does that.
Yeah, and we experienced, and that's what they said. They're like, if you walk into a restaurant and you don't see Guinnesses all over, don't have them there, because that means the Guinness is bad. That means they don't take care of the lines. It means it sits there for a while. And we ran into one restaurant where in Galway,
we could tell.
I was like, oof.
You could tell the difference.
This is not good.
You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah. So, but yeah. I mean,
order the gin then.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it was just fantastic. I know that, that was something that I don't think you and I have really ever done, was spend 14 days together.
No.
Nobody else. Just, you and I, no kids.
Yeah. The closest thing we've done to that was probably our honeymoon.
That was 7 days.
Yeah.
So
totally different, like way longer.
So yeah, so I think I absolutely enjoyed that.
I loved it. I'd like to do it again.
It's the connection piece. Like that's, it's the experiences. It's not the stuff. Although that stuff is fine and dandy and it comes into play, but it's the experience of just, being able to be present with your spouse and be able to do something like that. We've built this life where even today, it's 8:30 at night. It's Sunday. We've been going nonstop. We had Thanksgiving. We had Odin's birthday. We have all the business stuff, all the coaching stuff, all these things in play. It's like that is what we've worked so hard to be able to do for so many years, so many things, to go, we're going to go take 2 weeks together, husband and wife, because if you don't do it, guys, it's never going to happen.
Well, and we got to experience traveling together in a new and different way, like creating those memories and just uninterrupted time.
Yeah.
Like uninterrupted, which is such a gift.
And I think the thing too is like, maybe some people are like, I would not want to do that with my spouse, but I'd have you consider why.
Yeah.
Like that may be exactly what you need, because not only were we spending time together at each of these places, we also spent time in the car. Now, it may sound like we drove all over the place. We did.
We did a lot of driving.
But we never drove more than 2.5 hours. And I think total over 12 days in Ireland, we drove for 13 hours. So a little bit over an hour on average per day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that worked out super, super well. And so, that's the thing, like in that process, like I don't even think we argued the whole time, right? Like
we don't normally.
I know.
Normally
but
we
I'm just saying,
have,
like, I don't think we had a time where we're upset at each other or anything. Like,
no, the only thing that was tense, and it wasn't either of us, was when the roads were flooding.
Yeah.
And that was stressful.
We'll get to that. But
that didn't have to do with us.
So, but we had this time in the car. This was my real experience outside the country. Like, I really don't consider Mexico or even the Dominican, like, it's kind of the same thing. I know it's out of the country, but first time in Europe for me. And what it really lit for me was like, I want to go back to Europe, but I want to do a different place. I want to experience that in a different place, like Italy or whatever.
But there's so much to see too.
Right.
So it's like, even for me, I would love to go back, but I have other places I want to go see too.
But I think this is a good point to where, like, your family is very European. Like your grandparents,
I'm second generation.
Your grandparents were not born here.
Mm-mm.
And was your mom born here?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
But your grandparents weren't born here. They fled here, or they fled the Nazis. They ended up in Colorado. Really, really glossing over a lot of stuff.
Immigrated legally.
Yeah.
After World War II.
But you're very European. My family's not. Like, we're several generations removed.
Yeah.
But we talked about this, like how, your grandparents, one's born in Austria, Romania.
The borders
Okay.
changed.
So
yeah.
Romania,
Probably Austria,
and
maybe.
then your grandmother's born in France, and you were telling me about how they traveled everywhere
Yes.
in Europe. They would go back and they'd be gone for
Across
months.
the world. You've heard the stories from them.
Yeah.
I mean, globally. They went everywhere. I don't know that there's, other than like Antarctica, I don't really think there's anywhere they didn't see on like major stops on continents.
But I mean, talk about that though. Like, we're coming from two different backgrounds, highly Americanized. I don't know that my grandparents ever left this country. I don't think my parents have. But we're like, there's two different.
That was a big dichotomy. Like when we were getting married, I was like, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Like I had studied abroad. You were with me while I studied abroad. I had hoped just the timing and the expensiveness didn't work for you to come out, while I was in Italy.
Oh, that's when I was making like $1,600 a month. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but I was like pumped. I was like, we're going to travel. I was like, I'm so excited. And you're like, what?
Yeah. But
It
I
was
think
just
it's
something foreign to you. Like you just hadn't done it.
But it's a good point because like you got to watch your hey, where's grandma and grandpa? Well, they've been gone for a month in Vietnam or something, like
Yeah.
Like there's all those things, and I think that's kind of where I am at now is although I absolutely loved being with you for 2 weeks straight, it was hard being away from the boys. And
it was super hard.
And I did tell you it's like this is fun. There's nothing bad about this, but I don't ever want to be away from my kids that long again. But what I want to do is I want them to travel with us. And not that we won't do our own thing,
we'll go alone
as husband
too.
and wife,
But we've talked about this for a long time. Like we want to gift our kids experiences and memories and not just more stuff.
Yeah. And see, but that's what I'm saying. That's your point because you were talking about like, I really wish I could have spent more time with my grandparents. I wish I could have, went back to France with my grandmother, stuff like that. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, like having grandparents that were not from this country, like we loved hearing their stories, listening to where they grew up. Like obviously they went back. They were trilingual, so they spoke French, German, and English. And
they spoke Spanish too. So
I was gonna say they I will say definitely they picked up stuff pretty easy.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it frustrated me a little bit though because like they would never bring us with them or invite us to be going like as a large family, like with my mom and my aunt. And like my mom and aunt had definitely traveled some with them at different points, or like they each did. Actually, I don't know if my aunt did. My mom studied abroad. I don't know if my aunt did. And definitely I called her my Nana, but my grandma and grandpa went out and traveled with my mom while she was studying abroad. So it's like they got to experience that, and somehow as grandkids, like we just didn't. And it was just kind of sad because it's like that next generation didn't get past some of those things or get to have those experiences or to be taken through. Like my family have always traveled, but not in that close knit, almost like passing of the baton down to the next generation. It just makes me a little sad because it's like I have to ask. I don't know some of those things.
And I think going back to some of the conversations we had, it was all about like, okay, you have that experience. I have mine of never leaving this country.
Yeah.
Now our sons are going to have a different experience because now we've come to a place in life of, we're still under 40, but we've come to a place in life where we're successful in business, we're successful together, and now we can, take our prosperity and put it into our legacy and go, okay, like, yeah, Odin and Declan, you guys went to Italy when you were freaking 10, or whatever it is. And that's the thing where, I don't know that any younger than that, they'd really enjoy it. Like, I mean, Ireland would have been super tough. There were several several families with young kids we saw out there that were not from there. But the other thing too was, and I had this conversation with my mom. I was like, you guys need to like go,
Yeah.
get out of here.
It makes you realize, like, which I love, like you can speak to it more because,
yeah,
like,
because
do you understand now? Do you understand, like, it's so important, I think, to travel.
Yeah.
And to have that experience.
Well, and the only time I was nervous was with the fucking immigration agent. I was like, are they going to do a cavity search? Like, what is going on? Because she's like, supplements, because I think that's what was it. We're like, oh, we're going to go meet that. We're going to go meet one of our doctors and pick up supplements. Well, are you going to bring them back? No.
Like, they're just for us.
But anyway, I think that was the only time I was nervous. But that's the thing is, like, I remember, so we did the Cliffs of Moher, and, we went in a low travel season, but I thought it was pretty busy. And it was pretty busy with old people.
Yep.
Like really old people.
Yep.
So, and it sucks that we have that memory, but we're at the Cliffs of Moher, and
we're glad they're there.
Yes, 100%.
Traveling.
100%.
At least they're going.
But the thing is, like, there's at least 2 or 3 couples where, we do the work to stay healthy. We do the work to stay fit. We do the work to defy all the norms of America, being overweight and eat like shit. So we hiked for, it seemed probably a couple miles on the Cliffs of Moher.
Oh yeah, we did that for a while.
And the reason why I was like pushing my parents, like, you guys need to go leave this country, go experience stuff, is so that they can still do that while they're still active. Because even though these older people, we're talking like 75, 80s, maybe even older, they were struggling. And it's like,
yes, it was a short tour for them.
Yeah.
For places like that, because they weren't going to do the stairs.
Yep.
I mean, and we're talking big hills up and down and pretty rocky terrain. So if you don't have good footing, like, you're not going to go very far.
Yeah. And so we'd hiked, maybe an hour this way, and we'd come back, and, they're just not there very long. And it's, to me, it's like, cool, they're here, which is awesome.
Yes.
But it's also sad too, because they're really not going to get the full experience.
Yeah. There's certain things, like, they're just going to take a picture of. They're not going to go walk it.
Yeah. So that's where it's like, take the fucking trip. Do, I'm not saying to go in debt, but it's like, figure it out. Like,
yeah,
if it's, you
got to go thrift store shopping,
like,
and like
it is,
sell stuff.
Do what you need to do to make it happen today.
Like, on Marketplace, figure it out.
You don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, that's, like I say, old people, I'm not trying to be mean, but like, we were in Dingle, which is Jacqueline's favorite place.
That dinner could have been awesome.
It could have been awesome. We had, there's several situations where, we sit down, and these are small places in the pub. So it's not like these massive restaurants here in America, but, you're literally like, I could have probably went and touched the dude's head.
It's like big city style, like, where you're very tight.
Yeah, and we got to hear all about how, Bob dated Betsy in high school, and his mother didn't like her, and blah 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 blah. And
then we start hearing about their kids.
and it's just like, people, and they were American, and I'm just like, I do my best to not hinder somebody else's experience.
Yes.
And, there's a point where I'm like, I want to be like, could you just shut the fuck up? Nobody wants to hear about your old girlfriend 50 years ago, bro. Like, it's just...
Or, like, bring it down 40 notches, like, so the rest of us can have conversations around you.
And that was the thing. Like, we basically didn't have a conversation that night because we fucking couldn't.
We just ate and drank and left.
So, but yeah, like, Dingle... The Pax House is absolutely fantastic.
Was that your favorite? What was your favorite place that we went to?
Yeah, I mean, as far as towns, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dingle was absolutely beautiful. The Pax House, I mean, that breakfast,
Yep.
And
our weather. Like, again, we got blessed with such good weather there.
So
that made it that much just more
like
spectacular.
everybody in Galway, Galway is a lot like Seattle where it's gray all the time. And we have a doctor over there, Dr. Page. We got to hang out with her and her husband, which was absolutely fantastic.
So much fun.
They showed us all the cool bars and music and it was
much music there. That was cool too.
Yeah. And so, but we had sun there. And so like and it probably never got above 65, but we were expecting rain. Like we had all this rain gear and literally for 10 days, it was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Completely fine.
And then
so
it poured.
Jacqueline found this place called the Ballymaloe House. It's a farm to table, and it's a B&B and
cooking
school, and
they have hundreds of acres of animals.
Yep. So we stayed there one night, and so we were in Cork the night before, and it started raining in Cork, and so we left Cork the next morning. It was still raining, and we drive to Ballymaloe, and it proceeds to rain the whole time we're there, but we didn't really care. We weren't there to go tour around the area. We were there for the cooking and the farm and all that stuff. And so, we're there, we do their 5-course meal, which was great. Had some wine, hung out. And we get up the next morning, it's still raining. And this is really towards the last leg of our trip. And I think we were going to do something, but I was like, no, we need to get out of here.
Yeah. So,
I'm like, I'll drive. So I started driving, and these are all back roads, 2-lane. And here's the thing. There are no gutters in Ireland, at least
anywhere,
at least in that area. And so before we left, when we checked out, that lady's like, if you need to come back, just come back. 'Cause she said she'd never seen it like that.
Yeah.
Or rain that much. Right.
She said it's never rained like this for this long ever.
And I've lived here my whole life.
Oh, comforting.
So I was
I'm
like,
not driving.
I was like, I'll drive. I was like, I feel comfortable enough to drive in the rain. And so, as we're going out, all the roads have water coming across them, and they're all, red because of the dirt. We're in this farm area, and it really wasn't sketchy until we hit that one. So we hit this one, and we come around the corner, and the ass end of this car is sticking up in the air. She's totally floating in the water. And at the same time, we see a Land Rover drive through, and the water's up to his bumper.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I was like, oh, thank God. Because had that lady not been there, I would have drove through that, and that would have been us.
Mm-hmm.
And so the dude in the Land Rover pulls up. He's like, where are you guys headed? I'm like, we're going up to Kilkenny. And he's like, you got a plan B? And I'm like, nope. So I literally reverse it for a mile. We reroute, and we go the opposite way. And there was really only like one area that was super sketch. But we made it through.
And we're talking the roads covered in water. Covered in water. You can't really tell how deep the water is. Just gushing out from the hills. Yeah. Because it's coming off the farm land. Yep. I mean, it was sketchy.
It was sketch, but we made it out alive. We didn't submerge a car.
We didn't break the rental car.
Oh my God. But yeah, it was.
And then we saw pictures.
Oh yeah. So then we left Cork, and the entire city of Cork was flooded. It was like a lake. All the roads and everything were completely flooded.
Yeah. They had stuff shut down.
So the day we were in Ballymaloe is when Cork flooded. So we beat that.
Yep.
And we didn't know we beat it till the next day.
We saw photos, yeah.
Yeah, so.
And then after where we were, we saw them shutting down more roads, like highways, all this other stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that'll be a story to tell the grandkids. So, and I could have, being honest, I could have left it like day 10 because those last 3 days it was raining so much you really couldn't see anything. And
well, it was such a bummer to me because I had so looked forward to this farmhouse estate where like we could have gone out and seen all the animals, and like we couldn't do any of that. Like there was no chance we were walking the grounds And apparently, like, that's a really cool thing to do there. We couldn't do any of that.
Well, but the other really cool thing is, for 16 years, we've had a St. Patrick's Day party that we host. We make this big Irish meal, which I'll tell you guys the truth about that in a minute. But we bought this cookbook years ago. I mean, probably 10 plus years ago.
So long ago.
And so she goes, we're at this farm to table, the Ballymaloe house, and there's a cooking school attached to it. And she's like, I want to go get one of this lady's cookbooks. She gets it, she brings it back, and I'm like, I think this is the same cookbook we have at home. Not the exact same, but it's written by the same lady, the author.
Same author.
And it sure as shit it was.
And I didn't know that when I booked it.
And so, for our St. Patrick's Day thing, like, we always cook corned beef and cabbage.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not see that on one fucking menu.
Nope.
Whatsoever.
Anywhere we went
was not there.
Nope.
Which is bonkers to me. So, like, either they've become more Americanized and gone more towards that,
or we just didn't find it. But I feel like,
how could we not have?
I feel like we went enough places.
How could we not have?
I don't know.
I'm still gonna cook ours though.
Yeah.
But the beef Guinness stew was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
You ate
Shepherd's
fish and
pie.
chips like
I ate
a mad woman. It was disgusting.
So much fish too.
So
because it's so fresh. I won't do it. I tried oysters in Dingle.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Well, and the thing, I think Dublin's really cool too.
I thought Dublin was great
because, we went. It's a little bit outside of Dublin, but we went to Conor McGregor's restaurant, and that was fantastic.
Yes,
fantastic food.
The food was amazing.
Fantastic, and it was about 20 minutes outside the city, but and I got mistaken to be that guy.
Everybody was asking.
Yeah, so we walk in, and it's lunchtime, so there's hardly anybody there, but we walk in, and there's this waitress and the cook. They're, like, she's like, it's fucking him. And he's like, it's not fucking him. No, that's him. It's him. And Jack's like, they're talking about you. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And I heard him saying it, but they thought I was the beard eats food guy or something like that.
That was a YouTube channel.
Yeah. He's a massive YouTuber. And I guess we kind of look like each other.
You look similar.
Yeah. So
if you're just glancing.
Yeah. So they took a picture with me. But that was the only time it happened. So,
yeah.
But yeah, the Black Forge was amazing, and so Dublin was really, really interesting, and I think we definitely cruised through a lot of it. So you definitely could spend, 3 days there, for sure.
Yeah. What was your favorite thing that we did?
I think it was the storehouse.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't really remember.
Yeah, those last few days, and Kilkenny has all this cool medieval castle and wall.
Yeah.
And just the rain again. It was tough because, like, we couldn't get out and do some of those things those last couple days.
Well, we didn't do the touristy stuff. We didn't do the Blarney Stone.
No, skip that.
But the other thing too that is a part of the Dingle Peninsula is the Sleighhead Drive. That was beautiful.
Yes, that was awesome. We did. It's a smaller drive, which is why we did it, than the Ring of Kerry, less crowded. The views were amazing.
Super cool.
Amazing. And we stopped on the beach where they filmed the newer Star Wars.
Yep.
Went all the way down, hiked down to the water, got out onto the ocean area. It was cool. It was really cool. That whole drive, like, the weather was great, and it was really neat. And do you want me to say it?
Yeah, I asked you first.
Oh, okay. And
or did you forget?
No, we stopped on the Dunquin Pier. This was something I had just seen in photos. It was so cool.
Yeah.
In person.
It was cool.
It was super cool. So it's this really, like, squiggly back and forth pier all the way down to the water. And then we renewed our vows there.
Well, I mean, renewed, not technically. Like,
we didn't do, like, a full ceremony.
Yeah, in 2020, we had planned to do
Yes.
like a vow renewal. We'd been married 9 years at the time. You know, she was going to get a dress. I was going to do a kilt and a kilt tuxedo. And, you know, we were going to go to a church and we hired a photographer. Like when we said we had a plan, we had it all planned. And so this time we didn't even really talk about it. And, but we had bought, a Celtic knot, for a hand tying or knot ceremony, that they used to do back in the old times. And it matched the kilt that I was going to have and the fly plaid and all that stuff. And so I had swiped it, thinking I was sly to take it with us.
I saw that it was packed, so I knew it was coming.
So, but we pulled it out and we just sat there on the Irish ground and we, you know, tied our hands together. And I mean, did we really say vows? I don't really think we did. But
We had a moment. It was nice. It was quiet. We took photos.
Yep.
Like, I mean, it wasn't like a big thing.
Yeah.
But it was great.
Yeah. So,
like, you know, like I really just felt like the whole trip was about the two of us connecting.
Yep.
And that was just kind of the cherry on top, so to speak, to me.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I think we've covered quite a bit. Do you have any parting words or?
I would like to hear from you what you think about traveling now, because that was like a big experience for you.
Business class all the way. And I didn't even get to experience business class on the way back because I ended up deciding to fast, because whenever I am in excess in my diet or having alcohol, I fast to help my body process it, because I have a methylation problem or hiccup or whatever you want to call it. So I decided to fast. So again, we hop in business class and dude's like, here's champagne. I'm like, no, thank you. And then they come to give me my meal. And I'm like, no, thank you. And then like halfway in the flight, he's like, are you really not going to eat anything? Or
yeah, they were concerned about
him. No, I'm good. So I got the space for business class. Everything else I did not. So, but I think like I want to travel. We got the Bahamas coming up for us. We got Hawaii coming up. I'd like to make it to Europe. I don't know if it's going to happen, but
I really want to.
Definitely go back to Sonoma. Obviously that's stateside, and so is Hawaii. But yeah, I want to build a life that we can do more of that when we want to. And I think that's the only thing I would part here with is, like I said earlier, take the fucking vacation. Like, stop waiting for everything to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And the only time it is perfect is when you do take the vacation. Like every day you and I are presented with things that could stop us and hinder us, personally, as individuals, as a family, as business owners. And I want to say, like, we really deserve a gold medal for continuing to go, because we're always bombarded with shit to do. And always. And it's like, you know, hold your boundaries as a family, hold your boundaries as a married couple, and do the things that are meaningful to you, not meaningful to your parents, not meaningful to your boss. Like, you know, we've lived both sides where, you know, oh, please, boss, can I have time off? And yeah, you have to follow those things if you have a job, but you know, it's like
plan. Be strategic then.
Exactly. Like, guys, we're 36 days away from 2024.
Yeah.
36 days. And I will tell you this. Most people completely lose themselves in this time. We just had Thanksgiving. We have Christmas coming up. You have 4 Christmas sweater parties coming. Yeah. You have New Year's Eve. And then we get to January 2nd and you go, fuck, what am I doing? I feel like shit. I've overeaten. I overdrank. I overspent. I'm sick, or whatever it is. And then you decide to make a decision. You need to make the decision now. The time is now, not 36 days from now. Because if you want to set yourself to succeed, you need to figure out what you didn't accomplish this year and also put that with what you did, and then set the targets for next year.
Well, like you already heard, we're already booking trips into next year.
Yeah. So
because we want that for our kids, for us, like, and we know if we don't book it, it will not happen.
And that's the thing is, like, none of this is easy.
No.
Like, holding your boundaries is not easy. Telling your family you're not going to Thanksgiving because you're going to see him on Saturday or whatever it is, that's not easy. You're going to have everybody in your ear, and you have to be true with what it is you and your family want to do. And, like, it's not going to be easy. It wasn't easy for us to leave our business for 2 weeks, and we still worked.
It was painful, actually.
Dr. J's still looking at labs for her high ticket patients that are having some serious health problems. Like, she's still working. I'm still working. I'm still checking in with the staff to make sure stuff is going okay. Like, that stuff never stops. But what's on the other side of all that is we're able to spend time 2 weeks together, just us in Ireland, in Boston. And we're now continuing to roll our legacy forward to give ourselves as a married couple and individuals and then our kids the experiences of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Because if you don't focus on that, you're going to lose it. And,
yeah,
you hear it and you see it all the time. Bill Gates was worth $7 billion when he died. And there's some quote out there of some cool fucking thing he said, but he's like, you can't take any of it with you. You can't have someone carry around cancer for you or whatever it is. Like, you need to focus on this stuff. Like, you need to focus on this connection as husband and wife. If you're not doing this, at least on a weekly basis, without the kids, that's problem number one. Add that to 2024 targets. Like, all of that stuff. Like,
well, to me too, this is like the time of year for excuses.
Yeah.
Like, we already starting to hear stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, like, my response is, well, it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice. Like, we are choosing this for ourselves, for our family, like, and now that we've done like this huge trip together, it's like, like it's fantastic. And now we have something even fun to build off for future trips.
Yeah. And, and that's the thing is, like, people are going to get upset. Like, one of our things for 2024 is our family unit isn't going to be guilted and shamed into doing stuff that people around us want us to do. You know, like, if it's not something we want to do, or if it's not something that adds value or is going to fit with our boundaries or our family's legacy, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's going to ruffle feathers and it's going to make people mad, but this is our life, and it's our kids' life. And so we take all that into account in the decisions we make, and we're just going to buckle that down harder in 2024.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's about the core memories. Like, to me, it's like, what are you doing if you're not building those?
Yeah.
Like, that's why you work so hard. Yeah. That's why you do the things that allow you to have those experiences.
Right.
Because that stuff is super special.
Yeah. And I'm not saying it's not important for you to be with the extended family. I'm just saying, like, there's so much stuff that comes along that is just, just not like, okay, you remember do you remember your 15th Christmas? Like, I don't, like, or do you remember, like, going to 4 places on Christmas? Like, that was the big thing with our family. It's like, we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, our kids don't even have time to play with their toys, so we've made that decision as a family, and so you guys have to do that for yourselves. That's a long way to say all that, but just
well, as a couple, as a family, like, what are those things?
So,
what are those things?
But as always, guys, thank you again. We hope to be putting out more and more podcasts several times a month, and we'll just see you next time.
All right.
See ya.